Tell me your greatest Ric Flair story.
This is another good time in my life. I went to Charlotte. Everybody's ever met Ric Flair's wife, Beth? He's a wonderful lady. But I went into Charlotte, North Carolina one night, and it's the time that Whispers was opened up, and I went in there, and Lord behold, if I didn't run into Ric Flair. And this is the time that Robert and I had left Smoky Mountain. We had left NWA for the party. He was in there, and he said, man, let's go to my boat. You know, when Flair's had a little bit to drink, matter of fact, he's drunker than shit, and I am too, to tell the truth. So I said, go to your boat, Rick, it's 3 o'clock in the morning. He said, no, let's go to my boat, come on. And you know, Ricky's mindset, you gotta go. So Lord behold, here we go out through here, we go all the way down to South Carolina, and I'll be damned, we get down there, I said, which one's your boat? And I looked, brother, his boat's too goddamn big for the lake. I thought it was going on a boat, this son of a bitch got a yacht. I mean, it's goddamn 5 bedrooms, upstairs, downstairs, and everything. He had to call a guy to get out of bed to come and drive this son of a bitch. You know, you got a skipper or a captain, or whoever it is. So we get out there and start up, it takes 15 minutes to back this bastard up. We get out there and here we go across the lake. Boy, it's just a big son of a bitch. I'm going, my God. And believe me, everybody got a boat, brother, you got a boat. He got a boat, right? So here we go across that damn thing. So Rick tells me, he goes, come up here, I want to show you something, man. I'm going, God damn. We're drunk or hell, we go up a flight of steps through the bedroom, up through and we come out on top. Then he has this little room on top, and we're going up this ladder. I forgot what he's going to show me, but we get on top of there, and I'm holding on to a pole. But when I did, Rick reached over the grass up and he slipped. Brother, this son of a bitch is 4 stories high. You know what I'm talking about? He hits the side of the boat and I'm watching, he's doing about 3 cartwheels. I was holding on that pole and went, fuck. Glad that wasn't me. Right? So he's down there. God damn. You know, Rick wears these $3,000 suits, brother. I mean, $18,000 Rolex, fucking shoes, $500 fucking dollars. So I gotta go back downstairs, find this son of a bitch driving a boat and his wife. And we're going across the ocean. I get down there, I'm drunk as shit too. I'm telling his wife, I said, Rick fell off the boat. Where? Fuck, I don't know, back there, this motherfucker tell him. He fell off this motherfucker, right? So we turn this big son of a bitch around. The captain does. What is it? Cut the fucking motors off. God damn, you can't hear this motherfucker. Cut the motors off. Yeah. Where's he at? Over here. No, he's over there. He's over here, brother. Out there, you can't see your goddamn hand in front of your face. It's so dark. Son of a bitch. So finally, I get this big spotlight here on this motherfucker, and I can't see that motherfucker. He's 100 yards away. You see him out there. I'm going, God damn, we're gonna drown. So he turns that boat. We get up here, man. It's like a goddamn cartoon. They have it lifesaver thing. Get it, throw it. Ain't got no rope on that motherfucker. Goes over there about 30 fucking feet off. Goddamn. Finally get this big long pole and get him out and drag his ass in here, man. This motherfucker, he come off that boat. He's still got his pants on. 1 fucking sock. No shirt. A goddamn necktie. And he looked like a goddamn drowned rat. He come off that son of a bitch. He's drunk. He's drunk as hell, right? He's laying there. Oh, I'm lucky. And his wife looked at him and said, yeah, you're lucky, you son of a bitch. It didn't fucking drown.
But one night, I'll forego, Jimmy Crockett's were in our van, and I'll forego why we were both naked in the van. And I can guarantee you we're not homosexual. I can guarantee that. Although there is another story I don't know about that. I woke up one night in the Sheraton Hotel. Rick and I are butt-ass naked, and he's at one end, I'm at the other, and his body's laying all over, and I don't know what happened that night. And I said, if you ever admit it, I'll kill you. So God will have to forgive me. I don't know. But anyway, we're in this van, both of us with our clothes off, drinking and acting like idiots as usual, coming from Winston-Salem, and we made the mistake of letting Jimmy Crockett drive the van. And we get out and we're taking a leak beside the road, no clothes on, we're laughing and giggling. We thought this was so funny, we're barefooted. So funny. And as we're taking a leak beside the road, right there on, what is that, 85, coming out of Winston-Salem before it turns left on 77 there, heading down there, what is that?
421.
Yeah, 421. Well, Jimmy takes off and just leaves us there, bare butt-ass naked on the highway. I did have my boots on, and Rick didn't have nothing on, that blonde wig of his hanging on. So it's rocks and sandburrs all there on that road right there. And so we're walking down the road. Jimmy just takes off. I mean, he's gone. I mean, the taillights are gone. And he says, "Can you carry me? I can't walk." I said, "Rick, I've been carrying you so long." I said, "What's another 10 miles? Get on." So I put him on my back, and I'm piggybacking Ric Flair down the highway now. I'm piggybacking him now. So I guess you can imagine what some truck driver can see swagging in the wind there. And I understand that on the CB, back in those days, we all used to carry CBs, and some truck driver said, "Gall darn, you ain't gonna believe this." He said, there's some great big old cowboy carrying this blonde broad, and you ought to see her. I think she's got testicles hanging down from her. I never seen nothing like that in my life. That's the ugliest woman I ever seen in my life. So another truck whizzes by. Finally, I said, "Get off. I'm carrying him about a quarter mile, so I'm not carrying you any further." He says, "Well, I can't go any further." I said, "Well, you're going to have to wait right here. I'll walk to the intersection naked and see if I can get somebody to help us." So anyway, Jimmy come back. And we used to beat Jimmy and Crockett up pretty bad. I treated Jimmy pretty rough. The reason I didn't work there very long. But I beat the stuffing out of Jimmy now. I mean, I waffled his tail for that. I said, "You think that's funny?" He thought that was so funny. I waffled his butt. He had a black eye, so he gets to the office next morning and told George and David and what's the sister? Francis, that I'd beat him up. He had two black eyes, blacked his eye. I blacked his eye and blooded his nose. And they asked what happened to him. He said, "Jack beat me up." So Francis calls me to the office. Won't know why I was beating the boss up. And I said, "Let me tell you something, Francis. How long you known Jimmy Crockett?" "Well, I said, "Well, you ought to know why he got his butt beat up." You was raised with him. You was raised with him.
All of it. Every word of it.
You talk to Blackjack a lot?
Yeah, I do talk to him. I talk to him like once a month now. He came to the Hall of Fame. Yeah.
Flair and Steamboat, any match that they did, I'd carry either one of their jock straps to do it. I mean, I'll tell you one thing that did happen, and I really don't mean to say this too much because it might be a little embarrassing to Flair. But one night, I'll never forget this, Steamboat slammed Flair. This was in Charlotte. And Flair apparently had eaten not too long ago where he had something inside of him. The slam caused Flair to have an accident, so to speak. And the match continued. I don't want to go into any graphic detail. Sure. Flair might kick my ass for even saying this, but I don't think he will because I'm not going to go any further than that. He knows what happened, and I don't want to embarrass him. But he had an accident, and it didn't even stop the match. They continued to wrestle. That's how professional these guys were. They were great. Are great. Always will be great. And I just thank
What happened
God
with you guys in Ric Flair in Manhattan?
Yeah. Our good buddy Robbie Kane came in there and we were having a good time. And Robbie Kanoff used to be the guy with the dolls, and he came in and he was saying he was Jewish Lightning. That was his nickname, Jewish Lightning. So me and Sag, he came in between me, Hulk, Vince, everybody, and me and Sag tore his suit off. We left it down there with just like his drawers on. So when Vince finally left, Rick came up and went,
cut a big promo on us, and because that was his buddy. You don't do that, this and that, this and that. And then he came back after that about 5 minutes later, threw $5. $5, fat boy. I kicked your ass. Before you know it, I was getting paintbrush. I'm like, what the hell? And then before you know it, we just, the big rumpus at the China Club,
Well, plus that it goes to the thing, Rick goes back to like our first thing in WCW, because Rick, if you look at Rick, he's a stand-up, but the style of wrestler he is, he's the old school with the suit and like the old Nature Boy, buddy, you know what I mean? And
Right.
where we had to really two guys with mohawks, where he loves a wrestler like an Arn Anderson or
Right.
a technical wrestling type thing, and a champion in the suit. The business was changed at that time. There was no hardcore in that, and like we said, we went through the thing of the whole deal where Rick just wouldn't let you right in like that. You know what I mean? So we had to really earn, and there was a little, because our time in that thing, and then Rick coming up right after us to Vince, to WWE behind us. So there was a little bit of a thing there where we were working and had to really earn Rick's respect. And I think we did, and I think he's one of the greatest guys ever. I respect him more than anything. And,
and working wise, he's one of the best in the business there is, and he's still doing it. You know. So, but yeah, it got to be a crazy night. But the funny part about it all was
hilarious.
After I jumped up and then the table went over and this and that, there was some damage. But me and Sag got to stay at the China Club, and they kicked Rick out, and Rick's credit card was still down, so all the damages went to Rick's credit card.
Wow.
So it was, but it was a good time, bro.
Yeah.
It really was. And we're still best of friends with them, and we look back on it now and today and laugh at it,
The Four Horsemen gimmick, we did it for what? How long? 2 years? I don't know. People probably know better than I do. And it was fairly successful in the ring. As far as extracurricular or outside activity, pictures, things like that, it was a dismal flop, or we got screwed. Take your pick. And that's all. My opinion later on of Flair was I thought he was highly overrated. Quote Rush Limbaugh, Donovan McNabb is not as good as he thinks he is. Well, this is opinion only. Ric Flair is nowhere near as good as he thinks he is. And now, of course, people can make that statement about me too, that I'm not as good as I think I am. But I think I'm so damn good that even if you cut that opinion in half, it's still way head and shoulders above everybody else.
I love it. It is what it is. Disgruntled. I feel sorry for him. I do. Because I have all that going on, and at the end of the day, they have nothing left except bad memories of the business. Because it's my understanding he's bitter about everything. So, I don't know what to say about that. It's just strange. I told you what happened, and that's what happened.
All right, we were all done, and then there was one thing that we left
Yeah,
off.
I wanted to add this. I wrote this because a lot of people think wrestlers are one-dimensional. Well, I write music and poetry, and I play the drums and all this other stuff. Anyway, I wrote this song to the tune of the Beverly Hillbillies, and I wrote it about Flair. It goes, let me tell you a story about a little fat boy. He came from Minneapolis, wanted to be a cowboy. He met George Scott and bleached his hair. Everywhere he went, people would stare. Buddy Rogers couldn't believe that the little fat boy had the audacity to steal his gimmick and make it to the top. Flair Matt Landau and got his bubble pop. Well, he's been a great champ, but it's time to realize that his hair is graying and he has sagging eyes. He better realize that his time's growing thin. He's getting a little heavy and he's got a double chin. See ya.
Disappointed.
Disappointed?
I have nothing bad to say about Buddy. But his habits killed him in the business. That's the truth. That's documented. Just from Greg Price. I just heard the other day when I was here, because I heard he was up there a couple of years ago and left a bill unpaid. And
Oh, got really drunk at the bar.
yeah. But as I said before, his social stuff is what killed him. Not his ring work. But I thought Buddy was a good worker.
The scene is always described as being a very political scene in that time period, WCW. Did you see that, or were you just out there just doing your own thing?
What do you mean political?
Politics, like there were certain groups in the back and
Oh,
lobbying.
it was politics from day one. From, Flair saying he's 16-time world champion. Like, give me a fucking break. We had Kevin Sullivan, had all those guys booking. It's like I would have been 16-time world champion if I had all my buddies booking for me, and he was even the booker at one time. You know what I mean? So, and then when he was the booker, that's fucking everybody wanted to kill him. Because he's, but of course there was a lot of politics. That's the way it was. It was always like that. It was like, that's why I got so pissed off when I did that interview. It was like, it was so close to the truth.
Why did you pick that venue to do that interview? Because you weren't even in a program with Ric Flair.
Well, that was our nature. We were the NWO. We pretty much picked on anybody, and it just so happened I just, wanted to do it, so I did it.
So it wasn't like 3 o'clock in the afternoon. I'll pick on Flair tonight. It was just you went out there and off the.
I thought about it for a couple of days, and I thought, fuck it, I'll fuck with him today. Do an interview on him.
Mm-hmm.
So I did it, and.
What kind of backlash did you get when you came back?
Well, I came back, and I found out later Flair's in the room crying, and actually crying, But that's the way Flair was, I mean, if you remember that skit that the NWO did, when X-Pac was one of the best, funniest things I ever seen in wrestling. When X-Pac had the water thing, and tears would come out of his eyes. That's the way Flair was, man. He was trying to drop it. He was. You gotta understand. You gotta see it to believe it. It's embarrassing, But that's the way I came back, and I heard he was crying, and then they actually tried to get me fired. He actually tried to get me fired, Went through J.J. Dillon,
Totally untrue. Totally untrue.
Remember we were talking about, and you said you thought the comments were directed at Lex. That's why I was watching that piece.
Yeah, I know, but I mean, what I'm saying is that I wasn't the booker. That had nothing to do with it. I worked with Hogan that night when he came back. We were in Miami. I didn't even talk to him. And we got to New York, it was like nothing ever happened. I don't understand any of it. Because I'm the one that got Scott hired, Just disappointed in the whole thing. Once again, I wasn't even a threat to anybody then. Just walking along like everybody else. I think they get disgruntled with their own plight, because back then, I mean, I was so far removed from anything. I was just going to work like they were. So whatever was going on with their career, the NWO, I certainly had nothing to do with that. It was the infrastructure of the company. And they got held back. So it's easy to put the heat on somebody, but they're putting on the wrong guy. I had nothing to do with holding Steiner's back. I'm disappointed.
There's been a lot said about Flair. You can see what a pathetic piece of garbage he is just by what happened to him with the assault charges. What a pathetic piece of garbage. Here was a guy. Let me tell you something about him. Since he stands to make the news these days. Here's a piece of pathetic crap that at one time I really looked up to. You remember when I was talking to you about my Charlotte days? Mm-hmm. First of all, I was a young kid. To see a guy like Flair back then, or to any top guys, I was in awe because I'm looking at what I want to be someday. Whether it was my dad as a kid, whether it's a guy like Flair who's a top guy, they were grooming him for the NWA belt at the time. And, he was charismatic. He treated me very well. I looked up to the guy. I mean, he would try to help me out a little bit. Mm-hmm. And then here's a guy in print talks about a guy like my dad, who he couldn't make a pimple on his rear end, says to him, when I saw him in the ring, well, the quote was, I think, how could this guy, I said, Christ, how could this guy be the champion of anything? Saying that about Bruno Sammartino, that proved his longevity, made his mark in the business. To say something like that into a book, And how dare him try to come up to the arena to shake my dad's hand in Pittsburgh, you know? I think he's a gutless piece of garbage. And if I was ever booked against him, I would do my very best to hurt him. I would. If I was booked with him, and here, if Vince McMahon sees this, why don't you book us together? Why don't you give me a good payday, and I'll hurt him. I'll go in the ring and I'll hurt him for saying something like that. I can't believe that guy would say something like that about me. I was infuriated when he said that about my dad.
Well, how was Flair to you in those Charlotte days?
He was a great guy to me. He was a good guy. He was very nice to me. Yeah, very nice. I looked up to the guy. I mean, I liked the way back then. You know, I liked the way he worked. You know, he was very charismatic. You know, he was funny. He was good to be around.
Was there a guy you told me?
I guess as these guys get older, they change. I don't know. You know.
There was a guy you told me earlier that said that your comment said to him, I think it was a promoter that said, "You're lucky your father had that large percentage of people up north."
Oh yeah, well it was him. It was Flair that said that. I guess somehow I would get. And that's another thing. I defended my dad as a kid in school, getting fighting in the schoolyards, and then I'm defending him in territories I'm going. They never even acknowledge. You know, I know what people here think in New York, but you know what? My dad doesn't have the respect in other territories. They used to look at guys that worked in New York as lousy workers. Because when you went to Charlotte, you worked harder. You worked at a faster pace. There was more into your work there. I have to say that. But I would get caught up in these arguments with that I had no even business even being in. But I'm defending either WWF or my dad. And Flair made a comment to me. I remember to this day. He says, "You know, it wasn't actually about my dad. It was about the territory." He says, "You know, they better be thankful for the
population."
For the population that they have out there, because that's why they draw, because of the because there's such a huge population that's why they sell out everywhere they do. And I says, "No, I don't think so. I think they do things that people want to see there." You know, I made another smart ass comment to him, you know. But again, when you're in my situation, you're always in a no-win situation, because when you're the son of, or you're young and whatever, you know, you're always misunderstood. I've been misunderstood all my life with stuff like that.
Well, you just don't get along with them, those Sammartinos, do you?
Well, he's talking about the comment about his dad, right? Yeah, but the comment stemmed from the fact that his dad, you know, cracked on the WWF so bad, you know, about steroids and everything. That's where the stamp came from. Because, once again, as I'm being very plain and very clear about, is that he said the key thing. I was good to him, took care of him. What he's not saying is that his dad didn't talk to him back then. His dad had nothing to do with him. Do you know that? Mm-hmm. Okay, so I'm riding on a road with a kid, and I haven't given him the time. He's telling me my dad won't talk to him. What do you think's wrong with that? Well, I didn't know the inner workings of their family, so I don't know what's going on. I still don't know. But I'm thinking to myself, you know, once again, there's a problem, you know. But my problem with Bruno was not the person, and I never said anything about him as a person. My problem is that in his mind, he was bigger than the WWE. He's not. Just like I'm not bigger than NWA, WCW, or WWE. You know, we are. We be thankful. Once again, thankful that we're given the opportunity to work at that level. Not walk away bitter because you're being replaced. Not walk away and start telling about the fact that everybody's taking steroids. You know, once again, that's a private matter. You know what I mean? I could talk all day long about things that bother me privately, but that doesn't do any good. I dealt with that a long time ago. He said the key thing. Came down south, they work harder, they work faster. He's telling on himself. That's what I said to him. And I also said the same thing, the population. They work in front of a massive population. And that territory was like Boston, Philadelphia, whatever it was. And it was ethnic. I stand my ground. And Bruno couldn't draw money anywhere except that territory. That's all I said. But what I'm trying to say, that the point that never gets discussed, is that he was squashing the WWF after all those years of success because he was mad at Vince. It is what it is. You know, how could you ever be mad at anybody or their offspring when you made all this money, achieved all this notoriety, working for a company that all of a sudden you're mad at because you're not there anymore, and all of a sudden everybody's there that's making money is because they're on steroids? It's not true. It's sad.